brand new series. The most sophisticated AI on the planet.
Daddy, can we get her, please?
Think about your family, about Maggie. I'm sorry, but this is the world now.
Oh, what have you done to my heart?
Should I prepare dinner?
Not the same as Mom's.
You smiled and my heart.
Suffering is not productive, Nick. I can help you.
It seems to have quite its own design.
Alice, I have a wife.
What have you done?
With your medication, it would be quite easy to lose consciousness and slip under the water. Imagine how upset Nick would be if you die.
What's wrong?
She won't live long, Nick, but I figured out a solution. You do so much for everyone. Let me do this for you.
We let these take over the world, but we didn't stop it.
The things we've been doing, we can't do it anymore.
I can't let that happen.
No one can find out about this.
Maybe if I had your heart, you would love me the way he loves you.
What have you done to my heart?
Hello, everyone. My name is Heather Hurt with the NRW, where nerds rule the world, and I am here today with S.K. Dale, the director for the upcoming film Subservience. How are you today, sir?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
You're on tomorrow, right? At home, is that correct?
Yes, I am. I'm on tomorrow early morning.
Well, thank you for spending the early morning with me. I greatly appreciate it.
My pleasure.
With Subservience, we are seeing AI at the center of so much conversation nowadays. We've had film for decades relating to artificial intelligence and robots, but it's really just come to the forefront. What makes Subservience special to you, and what were your initial thoughts when you read the script?
You know, it's interesting because when it felt a little bit further into the future when I had read the script and we were prepping it, and it wasn't until post-production that we had all these unions, you know, with the film industry shutting down and people fighting for their rights for against AI, that I realized, oh, this is happening right now around us. And it was quite fearful in terms of, is this the last film I'm going to make? But, what I really liked about the script when I first read it, and I thought April and Will did a great job with this, was the fact that it was exploring AI in an intimate lens of this kind of family that is slowly fractured by it. You know, I think we've seen so many AI movies that are, huge scope and the world's going to end and everything like that, where this one felt more grounded and realistic of, this is how a family allows technology to come into a house. They do think it's going to help them and stuff like that. And slowly they are kind of seeing the negative effects of AI, but we also wanted to explore, certain positive stuff. And I'm not completely against AI. I definitely think there are avenues and industries that could be greatly benefited with it. But I don't think I expected, when we were prepping the film, I didn't expect creativity to be a threat from AI. And it's been interesting to see how, these chat GPTs and everything like that are starting to, create things. I hope, and, my thought is that it's going to kind of push humans to, and our film industry in particular, to kind of create more unique things and less cookie cutter type of stuff. So I'm trying to be as positive about the situation as possible, but we'll see how it goes.
You said the word AI create, and I was just like, create is a stretch So it's a big stretch there,
Yes.
but
Imitate.
what did that make you? I know you kind of touched on it, but if we can for a minute, can we look at, did that make you see the movie differently when the conversation changed, when it wasn't just about, like some potential future, it was now? Did that really change your perspective of the movie?
It did, but I would say, when approaching pre-production, I kept saying to the team, this is a sci-fi film, but it needs to be as grounded and it needs to feel we are setting in, the very near future, if not, pretty much everything that you see is like present day, just with these sims added into it. And for me, that was kind of vital, was keeping that groundedness. And I in the original script there was a couple little holograms and things here and there, and I just thought they kept bumping me every time I was reading them. They kept bumping me that this isn't my world, and I really wanted it to feel like this is our world now, and this is just a new form of technology that's kind of coming into it. I hope I answered your question then.
That was great. That's great. That was wonderful. And you can see that in the movie. It's this reminded me a lot of like Minority Report, where there was you see things that we see every day, but there's just this hint of the future, and I really appreciated that about this film. Looking at previous, let's dig into the past a little bit. What movies did it inspire you when you were directing this film? What were you looking at? Because we have a rich history in Hollywood and all across the world when it comes to machines and AI.
Yeah, I think it's hard to kind of deny films like Terminator 2 and even Ex Machina. I feel like those two kind of massive pillars of sci-fi. Blade Runner, and I would also say one thing I kept really thinking about, and it was one of the reasons why I was like, we don't need to necessarily have prosthetics to really kind of pull back on the humanistic look, was Westworld, the TV series, particularly season 1. I loved how the themes that were explored in that of human and technology and playing into that. But I would also say, a lot of my inspiration was more the kind of 90s, early 2000s thrillers, like Unfaithful, even going back a bit earlier, the Hand That Rocks the Cradle, like those type of films I love. I feel like those like $20 to $30 million films that just don't get made anymore, they're so exciting, and they're like, there's so much quality to that, and the stories they tell take bigger risks. They show more flawed characters, and I'm very attracted to flawed characters. I think that those excite me whenever I'm reading them on the page. And I would say like these two films that I've done with Megan tend to have some flawed characters within them, and trying to build sympathy from the audience for flawed characters is like very challenging, and I also love that, and trying to play with it. And I think it also kind of creates more of a divisive kind of film that people can debate whether Nick has redeemed himself or not, or if he's on the path for it. And for me, it was a big thing kind of having this more open-ended situation, because I think he's like made step one towards it, but we need to understand that there's a very long path to attempting to redeem himself here.
Absolutely. And one of the great things about the film is the emotional base. I want to go back to what you said about Megan Fox for a second there. And you were talking about the prosthetics and the emotional impact of AI and the Sims. Megan had this incredible way of both portraying emotion while also giving like the blankest look in the film. Like there were great moments, especially when the two of them were getting intimate. I can say that, it's in the trailer, don't get mad at me. We're getting intimate, and you see just this absolute sheen, even though she's putting in effort. what did you tell her to do? How did y'all work together to get her to play this animatronic that's not animatronic?
Yeah, I because of those intimate scenes, and because I knew we were kind of moving towards that narratively, I thought her performance was, it had to be a very fine balance between, robotic and having enough emotion that those scenes don't completely fall apart. And she came in very early on with this idea of her physicality being like a ballerina and her movements being, slow and precise. And I think that really, that physical trait informed the tone of her voice, the way it kind of, the monotone style of it and everything like that. And for me, it was just adding little sprinkles of emotion throughout it, leading up to those intimate scenes, and particularly with the Casablanca scene. That was always a sequence that I kind of felt like, how far can we start to make it feel like you're human for Nick? And it was a very vital scene for me in order to make those later scenes more believable. But yeah, I really thought that it was kind of a make it or break it performance in terms of buying into this concept and buying into this real world. And there were some times where we would do a take and I'd be like, all right, that was perfect, do it again, but can you do it without blinking? So, and we would try to not have her blink for as much as possible. Even in editing, we would remove them as well, and just try to make us always subconsciously aware that she's not human in that way. And I think it goes a long way in her performance, and I think she did a great job, and it was really exciting to watch that on the big screen. And yeah.
And there were times where I was just like, I kind of forgot that she wasn't playing up with makeup and stuff. You're like, no, that's really her. She's really doing that. It was incredible. Now to move on a little bit more into what you said about the guilt, about the emotion that the humans were feeling during the film. One of the big things that was really appreciated was that there is still this grand feeling of humanity in this movie. And that is, even though there are Sims and there's this concept of a future and what AI can do to you, especially at the family dynamic, there was like this guilt that just hung over the family. And that's really what played. And what took down, that was the plot. Why was that emotion specifically? Why that emotion?
I think it was very early on when I had read April and Will's script. I kind of wrote a list of things about what is it to be human, and tried to figure out, where, certain things we could focus on and everything. And I think ultimately this kind of family and unity was a big thing. So seeing that, become fractured throughout the movie, and seeing, our protagonist kind of cause their family to become fractured, it just inherently felt like guilt was the kind of emotional process of that, and him dealing with that. And even thinking about how do we what advantages do we have over an AI, and thinking about the emotional bond that we have and the connection in those ways. So ultimately trying to kind of lean against that and say, okay, well, as this AI is kind of pulling this family apart, it became very apparent that, our main protagonist, Nick, had to go through this enormous amount of guilt. And even there's a deleted scene that we had where when Maggie, returns and they're having dinner, Nick says, I think now we can kind of go back to our old lives and leave Alice behind. And Maggie's reluctant to do it because of all the other children at Isla's school have one. And, she's saying that, they've all got Sims, and I don't want to disenfranchise my child of any benefits of, having someone that can help her with homework and learn different languages and all these kind of capabilities that come with having this sim, she didn't want to do that and leave her out while every other family has it. And I felt like there was a sense of guilt in terms of like, we need to embrace this technology. And I see that, in this day and age with smartphones and everything like that. And down to the fact that, we'll go to, whenever you go to a restaurant, you'll see children on their iPads and watching and getting their information. And you start to question how much of their parental advice is coming from this device and not necessarily from their parents. So I find that all interesting, and her kind of keeping Alice there through guilt. And it just didn't, that scene, as much as I loved it, just didn't kind of work in terms of the full scope of the film. But it's something that definitely resonated with me when I read that script.
Absolutely. And that's beautiful. Thank you, S.K. Dale, director of the upcoming film Subservience, which will be available on digital and on demand on September 13th. Thank you so much. The film was a lot of fun, and you have a wonderful day.
Thank you. You too. I really appreciate that.